welcome to our channel.
So today's topic is long distance relationships.
So to begin, what is a long distance relationship? So obviously a long distance relationship could be characterized as you are not in the same place at the same time together.
Yeah.
So if you are dating someone, then it means that that person may not be in the same city as you, or country in fact, or a really deep continent. Can you imagine?
That's insane.
Yeah. So basically, you're just not together in the same place, and therefore your relationship has quite a lot of distance in order for you to get together. So basically, our relationship began where I had just finished my first year of university, so it was during the summer, right? Yeah. And then of course we were talking for a while before we actually began dating, just getting to know one another. And then just as I was about to leave to go back to my university, which was all the way in another city.
Yeah, so we live in London, but your university was in Teesside, wasn't it?
No, it was in Middlesbrough.
Yeah. So that was like a good 6 hours away.
Yeah.
So yeah, 6 hours away from London.
Yeah, about 5-6 hours away.
6 hours away. I was the one waiting at those gates, the Kore station. I was the one waiting, so 6 hours. Okay. Take my word for it.
6 hours. Okay, so so literally as we decided to start dating. That was, I think I had to go back to uni like 2 days after. So that's how our relationship began.
Yeah.
And
so
I went away.
We pretty much started dating, and the next day.
I think it was 2 days.
2 days after you had to go.
We started dating on a Friday, and then I left on a Sunday.
On Sunday, can you imagine?
Yeah, so then I went off to uni, and of course I really didn't know how that was gonna work, if I'm honest. I've never been in a long distance relationship before, have you?
No.
Yeah, so it was very new to us.
We wanted it to work, like, in a sense, I think we knew what we were getting ourselves into.
I didn't know.
What do you mean you didn't know?
I didn't know what I was
You knew you was in university.
Yeah, I knew, but then that's the thing. I knew I was going away. I remember telling you, like, I'm actually leaving.
Yeah.
How are we going to do this?
And what did I say?
I don't know.
I said we'll make it work.
Okay. But anyway, so I didn't know. Like, I really didn't know how it was going to work. I'm not going to lie and say, yeah, I knew it was going to definitely work. I didn't know because I've never been in that situation before. But I knew, of course, we could make it work if we wanted to. But it was just
that was the most important.
It was literally a new thing to us, and we just didn't know what to expect and how difficult it would be, because it was difficult. But anyway, we'll get to that.
Indeed.
Okay, so
our experience.
What was your experience? How did you feel? Like,
I don't know. At that time, I was happy. I was happy that I was in a relationship. That I was happy for the future. I was excited for the future. Of course, I really did like you, and I still do like you. So I knew that if we wanted to make it work, we could make it work. So I was still excited. I didn't really care, if I had to wait for perhaps maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month or 2 months until I see you again. Because when we started speaking, the whole point, of course, was to make sure that we were communicating in a sense. Yeah. So it was just that I just couldn't see you, but I can still speak to you in a sense. So I was still excited. I was still happy.
I think what helped as well, to be honest, is because we went through that stage of just speaking to each other before we actually started dating.
For quite some time. Yeah.
We were talking for like months.
Yeah, so the attachment between both of us was through the communication as opposed to just being there.
Being with each other. So we knew how to hold a conversation on the phone without really feeling like, oh my god,
what we're doing,
speaking about 2 hours, what is this? So it was easy to like keep that conversation going and just, be content with talking to each other. How did I feel? I felt, of course, like I said at the start, I didn't really know how it was going to work. There's a little bit of anxiety at first, because there was, but then I think when I did arrive at university, it was like, okay, you know what, this is my focus. Not saying that you're not my focus, because you were my focus. I was very happy that I was in a relationship, but then it was more of a thing of, okay, that's fine, you're in a relationship, focus on that, but at the end of the day, don't forget your main focus of why you're in university, to pass your exams and to get your degree. So it was like trying to split my two minds of, okay, yes, I am in a relationship, and I know if I want it to work, it will work, and also I am here at uni, so let me just put myself 100% into it as well.
And I think it also did work for us as well, because at that precise time we wanted to be in the relationship, but then we also knew, as you said, you had your responsibilities, which were your studies. And as for myself as well, it was also work. I don't know why you're smiling because I'm stuttering. As for myself as well, it was work as well. So it kind of gave us the opportunity to still get to know each other, but yet still focus on what we were doing. Because as for myself, I would remember, you know, I had a lot of like meetings to attend. I had a lot of, I was literally very, very active, but yet I still had time, of course, to be in a relationship. I think it was also, I took the benefit of, you know, not having to always, you know, come to visit you and being with you and spending time with you and stuff like that. So
that's a good thing to say.
Exactly.
It's like trying to change
a negative to a positive.
Yeah, I wouldn't say negative, but I'll say more like a difficult situation and try and turn it into a positive situation.
Indeed.
So don't because you're in a relationship and you can't really see each other all the time. Like rather than mope around and be sad and
use that time to do something else.
Use that time to, you know, work on yourself or work on your projects or work on your work or your job or your studies. Like throw yourself into it and, you know, make the most out of it. I'm sure you're missing that person. Like I did miss you a lot of the times, but I would try and just focus that, okay, you know what, there is an end to this.
And I think as well, what also helps was because we were dating for 2 years, weren't we? The long distance relationship.
The long distance happened for 2 years. We were not dating for 2 years. The long distance
we were
was
dating for 2 years. We were dating for 2 years because we started dating in an actual long distance relationship because it was 2 years. It lasted for 2 years, so we were dating for 2 years.
Yeah, so
my point is, I think the number one thing that really does help and did help was communication.
Yeah.
Like I think that was where we actually decided from day one to always speak to each other every single day. So even though I wasn't there, I felt like I was there because we would always speak about what happened throughout the day. And it was so weird.
Crying on the phone.
Exactly. It was so weird because, you know, I thought she was a sado. I thought she had no friends, but I knew she had friends. But
I would rather speak to him than
she would always be on the
go
phone.
out.
She would always be on the phone, and I think I could only remember like her going out probably twice or three times.
I think I only went out like twice.
Yeah, it was just twice or three times that you went out with your friends, and every night, every time, it would just literally be us either chatting to each other or, you know, speaking to each other on the phone, which was very good because I knew she was safe. I knew she was, you know, she was studying. I knew she was focused on what she was, you know, what she was there for.
Because that's another thing as well. I think another thing is trust, because you just made sure that you just mentioned you knew I was safe and you knew I was studying. I think a lot of the times the reason why people have such a big issue with long distance relationship and it failing is because there isn't that trust between the two people, or the trust isn't yet strong enough to be able to handle that distance. Because a lot of times they say, oh, you're in a long distance relationship, I'm not sure that's gonna work because, you know, you might meet someone else and then you forget about that person. So it was just that trust that you knew what I was doing and you knew the purpose of why I was where I was. It wasn't just like, okay, Kore, I need to go someplace and you don't really know why I'm going there.
I think in addition to that as well, it really did help us knowing that we are Christians as well. So it really got us to focus on the most important part of being in a relationship, which is getting to know each other. You know, we had enough time to perhaps maybe see each other's flaws, to be frustrated with each other, and, you know, equally to communicate and to build that bond of not even having to perhaps maybe hug each other or, you know, kiss each other or be next to each other every single time. So, do you know what I mean? It was like before that hugging, there was the communication, there was, you know, just hearing, you know, your voice and, you know, seeing what you're thinking and, you know, being, do you know what I mean? So that was a very, very, very strong part of it.
I think a massive part of being in a long distance relationship is also like it's like a mental exercise as well, because you have to sort of see beyond that distance that you are going through and mentally be able to cope with it, because like you said, we can't touch each other, we can't, you know, be near each other. So it's just literally the mind being able to, you know, talk and like understand what you're facing, like by you talking to me, by you explaining to me what's happening here, you can see what's actually happening. Like you can see what was happening with me when I was at university, when I was seeing my patients or getting like not so good mark
I remember
on an exam and crying or being upset about it. And you I mean, he was really good because you really understood what I was facing, because sometimes it can be hard if that person's not there with you. You're just like, oh, it's just an exam, like get over it, like you can retake the exam. But you were never ever like that. You were always like, okay, don't worry, you can do it, you're gonna get a good result. Don't worry, just keep going. So that was really good. I think another thing to be in a long distance relationship, you have to be supportive of that person that you're in a long distance relationship with, because you have to understand what they're facing as well, because you're not in together, so you're not able to support that person like physically with you, so you have to speak to them and support them in your words and in understanding what they're facing. I
think in addition to that as well, there was one thing that we also built within this long distance relationship, which was I was your best friend and you were my best friend. So for instance, if I was walking down, or perhaps maybe waiting for the bus, and I saw an auntie, trip over and fall, the first person I would want to text, I'd be like, Susie, you won't believe what I just saw. This auntie was running after the bus and she buckled. It was the funniest thing. I felt bad because I went to help her. So I mean, so like she was the first person that I would speak to. And the best thing about this was I was the first person that she would want to speak to as well. So then how we made this work out to our benefit was, even when we had disagreement on the phone, and we would say, no, come off the phone, this and that. The first person I would want to call to complain about how annoying she is would happen to be herself. And the first person that I was there for you to also complain about too was myself. So it kind of like cut short that whole, silent treatment period of not having to speak to each other.
Yeah, we didn't really have that.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we tried to have it, but it wouldn't last.
Just wouldn't
probably last like an hour.
Exactly. It just wouldn't last. So even until today, I mean, it lasts longer now because we are together and we have family members to distract us, TV to distract us. However, it still hurts as much as it did back then in a sense, and feeling that discomfort, knowing that okay, you know what, we're not on talking terms, so therefore we need to squash this. And it's really good. So of course it took us that time of perhaps I would say training ourselves, or through the experience that we went through for us to actually be at that stage right now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, another thing I want to say as well is because of speaking to each other every day, because that's what we did. I mean, if you're in a long distance relationship, I wouldn't say, okay, now stop talking to each other every day. If you want to, go ahead.
Yeah, of course.
But do try and keep the communication going.
Indeed.
So I wouldn't necessarily go more than a few days without talking to that person that you're in a relationship with.
Yeah.
Because you're in a relationship with that person. That's the person who's meant to be the closest person to you. That's the person who's meant to know you better than anybody else in the world. So how can you go days and days without talking to them? You should.
I think it's the vision from the beginning. Because remember when I said I was looking for a potential wife, and I wanted to make it work out.
Yeah.
So my idea from the beginning was to make sure that we communicate as much as we can.
Yeah.
Not in a sense of like, me forcing you into communicating with me. It has to be mutual. Do you know what I mean? So I give, you give, and so it's it's just flowing from then on. So I would advise, if you can speak every day, perhaps like we did, like go ahead and do that. But if, as you said, if it's not every day, then don't leave it too long in a sense.
Repeatedly.
No, I know. I'm just supporting what you're saying.
You do this all the time. Okay.
Are you actually being serious?
You do this all the time.
I'm supporting what you're saying, though.
Wait, okay. And then you just repeat exactly what I said, but in different words.
You do the same as well.
I don't.
You do the same.
It's alright, carry on. It's alright.
See what I have to go through.
Just
it's fine. No, it's done. My point is done.
How long? Okay, we said that. It was so it was for 2 years. In case anyone didn't know, it was for 2 years. And also the reason why you didn't come to visit me. What was the reason?
You didn't want me to come to visit.
I didn't want him to visit me. I really didn't. I think it was.
I did offer several times.
Yeah,
like,
you did. I didn't want him to visit me because it was such a long trip, and I thought to myself, where are you gonna stay?
I went down, and so you go first. Should I go first or you go first?
You go first. Why not?
Okay. So my first impression. I think you should go first, actually.
Okay, I'll go first. Okay, so
mine then compliments what you.
So my second impression of Kore was that he was a bit of a clown, a bit of a joker, because that was his character.